name is Randy Baar, and this is the Spirit of America. And this is Braun
St. Denis.
St. Denis. That's a interesting name.
Yeah, it's basically like it's a mix of German and French.
Okay.
Yeah.
I ran into these kids. I call them kids because I'm 72. But anyway, they're at the camp here in Branson, and they're at a ball game I went to watch, football game. And we're having a meal, and I got to talking to them, and this guy has a great grandpa that flew B-29s in World War II. And he's got all kinds of neat testimony and stories about it. And I said, I want to do that. We're going to do a show on that. I talked him into it, and we did a show.
Yeah.
And guess what? We had technical difficulties, and the show didn't come out. So you know what? The Lord wanted this. It's going to be better this time than it was the last time.
Yes, it
Lord,
will. Yes, it will.
We had more time to think about it and pray and everything.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm gonna kind of lead him along, but I'm interested in what he has to say because he has some neat information about his grandpa and everything, and it's kind of miracle stories and stuff. So let's get started. First off, where do you live?
Well, I'm actually from Jacksonville, Florida. I lived there my whole life, and then I went to Liberty University for the full 4 years, and right now I'm at another school here in Branson. It's a biblical school, and it's been a really great experience for me these past 5 years, just being at college and just studying the Lord in more depth, especially at Liberty University and this biblical school I'm at.
Do you like Branson?
Oh yes, it's a really nice town. I mean, I'm familiar with the place because for the past 3 years I actually been working at a nearby camp in the woods, and I visit here for time off, and it's a really great town.
Yeah, you know, we promote Branson as a great place to visit because it is. It's very, it's kind of in the Bible Belt. There's a lot of, but they don't preach to you or anything, but everybody's real nice and everything. And there's so many good shows, and there's so many good everything here.
Yeah, I mean, we can't not forget Silver Dollar City.
Yeah, Silver Dollar City. It's I think it's the most famous place now, even over Disneyland. They get more people in there.
Yeah, I mean, I've been there. Those rides, in my personal opinion, were way more intense than the ones at Disney World and probably even Universal Studios, if I'm honest. And I went to Orlando.
Oh, and they have plays and shows and wonderful good churches here and everything. If you come to visit here, there's a huge lake out there. And what's it called?
I don't know.
Not Lake Travis. It's a famous lake, but they do bass fishing there and everything. It's huge. If people come here to fish and boat and everything, it's a great place to take a vacation. But God first with this show, Branson second. But it's a great place to come visit, folks. And they won't shove the Bible down your throat or anything. It's just a good place to be. It's nice, very friendly and nice. The kind of the hillbilly atmosphere sometimes.
Yeah. It's a nice, kind place, and like I mean, being here for all the 4 seasons, like summer, fall, winter, and spring, it's really beautiful seeing the change of the seasons.
Oh yeah, the beautiful leaves, and it's just a nice place to come. Anyway, we're going to get on with the show now. We're going to take a break. We're going to come back. We're going to get into this young man's life. We'll see you in just a minute.
Got one of these hanging on the wall? You're qualified. One of these? You're qualified too. Love a good checklist? Qualified. 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 Yep, qualified. Because if you know how to put up anything in your home, you're qualified to save lives by installing free smoke alarms in your community. Go to soundthealarm.org to find a volunteer event near you.
Welcome back. Talking to Braun
St.
Denis. Okay, tell me a little bit about where you grew up and how it was with your family.
I mean, well, as I mentioned earlier, I lived in Jacksonville, Florida all my life. I mean, I was born in 2002. I mean, it was very interesting, growing up. I mean, just seeing changes here and there, how our stadium, for football, grew into a big place, how the Jaguars had their highs and their lows like every football team. And it's a really great city. I mean, it's the right mix of it's a city, but not big enough where it can be like overwhelming, like New York City.
So there wasn't a lot of crime or anything?
I don't know. I mean, I lived in the good neighborhoods, like in near San Marco. San Marco, yeah.
No. Okay. Well, you know what? We're going to jump right into this because you got so much good stuff.
Yeah,
Now,
yeah.
how did you get interested in your grandpa and flying this B-29 and you? How did you get interested and want to do this show? You told me you really wanted to share it.
Well, because like I think it was all the way back, I believe in the Memorial Day of 2024 or 2023, and like I just decided, oh, I want to look into like some photos of my grandpa. And my dad sent me one of my grandpa and his crew on right next to the plane they flew, and I'll show you the photo a bit later. But I mean, like I just looked at it and I was fascinated, and so I decided to look more into it. And then later on, I was like, when I decided to talk to you about my grandpa, I was like, I want to dive into more information and ask my family for help. And my dad, like, he had all kinds of photos of his father. And then, like, here in the show, I'll also talk to you about my great grandpa on my mom's side, who actually fought in World War II as well. But he wasn't a pilot. He was actually I think he was in the Army, which I'll tell you more about later. And for him, though, like, while my grandpa on my dad's side, like, we have more information about him and photos, but on my great mom's side with my great grandpa, like, it was a bit more trickier because, like, you see, with those veterans, they don't really talk much about their past.
Yeah, my dad was the same way. He wouldn't talk about it, but it was a hard war. I mean, our soldiers really a lot of casualties and everything. And my dad was real quiet when he come back. I think he kind of had PTSD, but they didn't have it then, you know. And he had some trouble when he came home. But we'll get into this a little more in a second. But the more you looked into this, then the more you got interested and you started digging more? So you got a lot of information now?
Yeah. It was because of this show that I learned so much and gained all these photos. It was a really fascinating thing. I mean, I found out like some articles about like some interesting facts about my family. My dad had a whole book on like the bomb squadron that I'll just call him D-Dad flew with, and it was just really fascinating.
Well, did your dad go in the service?
No, he thankfully, like, he just sticked into the business of lawyers. Like, he's like a civil defense lawyer in just simple terms, or in how other people will call it. But he's a really great guy.
I learned from a friend of mine back in River Falls, Wisconsin, where we grew up, that the people that stayed back, they were fighting the war too. They had to have rubber drives, and they the women had to go to work, make airplanes and everything. I'll tell you, the people that stayed home were part of the war too, and we wouldn't have won without dedicated Americans.
Yeah. In fact, like, I think I recall, like, recently, like, that famous photo of, like, Weekend with the lady with her fist up? Well, like, she recently passed away, last I heard. I don't remember her name, but, I mean, she had an interesting story on her own, but that's a story for another time for someone else. But right now, we're just here going to talk about my grandpa and my great-grandpa for the time of the show, because they, in my personal opinion, fought in the worst place for an American to fight in, and that was in the Pacific Theater.
Yeah, I've read about that and everything. That was a tough area, yeah. Well, go ahead and start in what you want to share.
Well, right here is my grandpa during his younger years. Like, this photo is probably of him maybe in his 20s or 30s, maybe. I don't recall the age. And like, he had a pretty fascinating history. I mean, like, he was actually a track athlete at the University of Missouri, like, prior for going into the military. And like, I think he was in business school, but like, I guess he didn't finish because, like, when the war came on, I guess he like volunteered. And like, from what my parents told me, he was actually in school with Sam Walton in the business school at the University of Missouri, who that guy was actually responsible for Walmart.
Wow. Sam Walton, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know if it's like true or not, but that's just what my parents told me. And
so when he entered the service, did he know he was going to be a pilot, or?
I don't know.
You don't know?
I don't know. And I mean, like he was actually, I think from what I found, like he was like, I think he was an excellent boxer in St. Louis too. Like he boxed, which it was like, I didn't know I had boxing in my family's blood. And so he actually won his Golden Glove competition and he was very well known. And in fact, like a funny note, like his nose gave him a hard time his entire life because like he boxed with so many people, even like on like some of the islands he was at, like Titan Island with the Air Force, where they would like box during their free time. And you could probably put two and two together what happened with his nose.
Yeah. I bet he had a hard time breathing all that oxygen in the plane too, with his nose was plugged up.
Oh yeah. I mean, there probably might have been moments where like the oxygen got bad.
Oh gee.
And like not many people talk about that with planes. Like oxygen getting bad, it could be the worst time for you, especially when you're that high up. In fact, that was a new thing. I mean, planes were just about like around 40 years old at that point, and like they were still trying to figure out the kinks of like the dangers of going in high altitude and trying to figure all that out. In fact, with like they were just developing all this new technology. I mean, like I even heard one time they tried to like for B-29s to put like remote control turrets on those planes, but that didn't work out because the technology was either too expensive or just too complex to work.
You know, my uncle flew in World War II. He said from the day he started flying in 1942 or 3 or whatever, to the end, huge advances came already. They were doing the technology, you know. So from the time he started till the time he ended, he said we had a lot better airplanes, a lot better technique and stuff.
I mean, that's kind of like one of the benefits of war in a sense. Like, I mean, war is bad either way, but sometimes you might, when you look at it, be like, there are some benefits. Like World War II helped bring about some of the greatest technologies known to man, like radar. Like that was like a huge advancement, and all kinds of things. I mean, it's just how it goes. Like sometimes like advances come to, like during the most uplifting or most darkest of times.
Well, you know, I don't know, but when World War II started, they didn't have any B-29s yet, did they? Or did they have them then?
I think they were I think they were like planning on them maybe. I mean, I don't know. I don't know much about that, but those planes were like the real deal for their time. They were probably like one of the few planes in the world that could go at that height.
Oh yeah, the B-29 was a workhorse for our war. Okay, move on.
Well, like here's like another photo here, and this is something like this might be a brief moment because of lack of information, but this is Staff Sergeant Braun, who was in the United States Infantry from 1942 to 1945. And this is the photo of him, like when you see with the arrow here, like this is like him in the hat in the center, and that's him with his crew in the jungles of like the south of like the Pacific, or more specifically the South Pacific.
Oh.
And if you read your history, the Pacific theater was very worse than the European theater for Americans.
Oh.
I mean, like it's basically right now the heat. It would have been like 100 degrees in those areas, even during the winter at times.
And the insects and the mosquitoes
man, it'll be like South America like has a lot of bugs, so it'll be similar to that, but like small islands, and then you have to worry about the Japanese infantry trying to kill you.
Well, I saw a movie,
crazy.
I forget the name of it, but it was a true movie, and they really weren't good to our soldiers. They didn't go by, we captured them, but we'll take care of them. Like Germany, they had prison camps. They weren't good, but the Japanese they were real bad about taking care of
I think
prisoners.
the reason for that, because like they had this like, I think from what I studied in Liberty, it was like an honor system in a sense. Like their whole culture was about honor for their family and their blood. And to them, surrender was the worst kind of dishonor for their country.
Right.
Like it was like, you surrender, you be treated badly. And I mean, you hear all these stories from like when they managed to conquer the Philippines, like all those American troops were treated badly, and like you have the death march that occurred. Like, and like they were just treated the worst way possible. I mean, it's just really sad what those people went through, and it's just a testament. Like in those moments, you got to ask yourself, are you going to rely on your strength or the strength of the Lord to help you get through those dark times?
I don't know how you could get through without him. You know, my goodness.
I mean, like a good example, like a great film I remember watching when I was young was like Unbroken. That's like a good like picture of like what it was like being in those camps that the Japanese run for American prisoners. But there's probably way more that I'll probably put it in way more detail.
So the staff sergeant, was that your grandpa, the staff sergeant, before he became an officer? Or?
No. This is on my mom's side.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, he was my great grandpa, and I think the war affected him worse than my grandpa, because like my dad, like I don't think like my grandpa like experienced like a worse level of PTSD. I mean, like I guess like he was like I think like because of his faith, like he was able to get through all that. But this guy, like my great grandpa, like I think it was from what my relatives on my mom's side told me, like he had it rough. I mean, that's just what I heard.
Yeah.
And like this guy, like from what the info I found, like he was like in the United States infantry, like from like he was there for like 3 years. 3 years in that theater, like 3 years, and like from what they found, like from the picture, like he was in the that was somewhere around the Guadalcanal Canal, and like the New Guinea campaign from 1942 to 1945.
Whoa.
Like it was a very bad battles. Like from what the information says, like they had to deal with like waist deep mud, mountains, jungles, and then like they had the like tropical disease that even that had casualties that rivaled even combat. It was that bad.
You know, folks, patriotism is very important. A lot of these people from World War II are gone now, but when they came back, they needed to hear from us that we appreciate it. Mm-hmm. I mean, they raised their hand and they went and they risked their lives, and they're still doing it today. Mm-hmm. But World War II, holy smokes, that was the war of all wars, you know. And then we progressed, and we didn't treat our soldiers right in Vietnam because they didn't let them win the war, and the country was bad. I feel bad for that too. Each war is different, but World War II was a mega war, and I'm appreciative to all these veterans.
I mean, like the casualty rates, like we're in like around like 60 million, and I probably would bet my money on that. Like it would have been way more, probably higher, because like we might still not get the full numbers. I mean, the only one who knows that is the Lord.
Even little towns and everything, they got about every month there was people dying from the community because there's that many casualties, you know. Mm-hmm. So everybody's waiting they don't want to get that letter, you know. And I can't hardly imagine that.
Yeah, and like just going back to my grandpa, like as I said, like he was a staff sergeant, so he led about from 10 to 14 men, like patrolling through those jungles I've seen in the picture here. Like they would have to go through like all kinds of things. Like they have to deal with like night defensive perimeters because of the Japanese infiltration. Like they were really good at that because they knew the terrain in all those islands. Because in those times, like Japan was like, they were like Germany. They were like bent on conquering everything. They were trying to invade China. They were trying to conquer all these islands. And by the time the Americans came, they already knew the terrain so well that they knew how to like navigate through them. And in some cases, like in the Battle of what was that? One of the last battles of like for the Pacific Theater, the Battle of Iwo Jima.
Iwo Jima.
Yeah. They would have all these tunnels made in some of those islands so they could navigate. I mean, I guess it depends on the island if like the terrain, like the ground was like strong enough to handle those tunnels, because like with islands they're surrounded by water, so if you dig down you could risk like some flooding, like the ground would be like too muddy for like tunnels and all that, but for some cases like the tunnels would be a big problem. In fact, it's what the Viet Cong used against Americans during the Vietnam War, like all these tunnels in the jungles.
Well, folks, we're going to take a break now again, and I hope you're finding this interesting. I sure am. And we'll come back and we're going to get back into the B-29 and his grandpa, and we'll move on. We still got about 20 minutes or so we'll be right back.
And as floodwaters continue to rise, thousands are left desolate.
Hundreds of homes have been destroyed by the wildfire.
Disasters have left many in need of emergency shelter.
You can help those impacted by disasters, big and small. Give now.
Welcome back.
Hello.
We're going to keep on moving on now through the war and through his relatives, and tell us some more.
Well, like this, I just gonna want to show you some quick photos of him during his younger years. Like this was probably him. Like I don't know where this was taken, but maybe during his army training or maybe when he was on time off. Like this one here is when he was in his uniform. Like this, look at the cars behind him. Like I bet that was the barracks. Like he stayed.
He looks like he's a pretty good-looking guy, about 6'2", or
Yeah. Me and my dad get a lot of resemblance from him. And like this is probably him like at one of the houses or something. Like you just don't know. Like you just look at these photos and imagine like where was this taken?
Yeah.
And like you just look at this and this is probably him like when he was truly serving during the war, and like this is probably him next to a superior officer maybe, and I think he was growing a mustache and like other things. Like like you look closely, like you gotta hand it to those guys. And this is a photo of him and his crew and all the names of the soldiers, which you'll see.
Hold it out a little longer, because maybe Chuck can zero in on it. I don't know.
Yeah. Like he was like he had like many they were in like the first squadron, and like if you see like these letters on the side here right next to the names, these are probably the positions they were in. I don't think I know, but like if you can look this up, like you can probably tell with like each of these letters names. Like I believe like right here, like TG was like tail gunner, and like P or AC, like AC was like, I mean, maybe acting commander or something like that.
Yeah.
But I just
there was like 9 different positions, weren't there? Pilot, co-pilot, gunner. There was several bombardier. There was several people involved in each plane, right?
Yeah. And like for the squadron, like he was with like I think like serving under like the I can't recall, like he was with like the first squadron. So from this photo here of a book that my dad found, like he was like with the first bombardment squadron. Like this was their symbol here, as you see in this photo of the book like my dad had on those bomber squadrons. And like if you look at this is probably the map of where they operated during those times. And like during these areas, like if you see here like small islands, they were key to the war, because like with those islands they were able to have B-29s to like go to Japan easier. The closer we got, like here at Okinawa, like right here, like they were able to get to Japan like way quicker than that, and the Japanese were trying to stop them at any moment. And so back to it, like here's like another photo of like my dad and his squad, and then right here, this is personally my favorite photo, like him and his crew, and he's having a smoke pipe, and that's his plane in the back there, and it's just a really fascinating thing.
You know, I've heard a lot of testimonies from people that said that God was in this war, he's in charge of everything. And if the Japan would have kept coming after Pearl Harbor, they'd have won probably.
Yeah.
They didn't. Somebody was a little scared, saying, "Well, it's a big barrier. We're not going to go in there yet." But if they would have kept coming, we wouldn't have made it. God is the one that stopped the Japanese. Yeah, really. And then we had more time, and the people started making. You know, we didn't have any ammo or anything. We had to start making stuff for the war.
Yeah.
We're trying to back out of it with Germany and everything.
And I blame World War I for that.
And the Lord, I believe, was in control of it, and He allowed us to get going. You know, and once we got it going, now we're getting airplanes and fighters and everything. You know.
So let's just get back to it. Like,
Yeah.
here's like the photo of the plane in color here. Like he was like in the 9th Squadron group with the 9th Bombardment Group with the 1st Squadron.
Well,
like it was a.
There's 4 engines, right?
Yeah. The B-29 Super Fortress unit, World War II, the 20th Air Force, U.S. Army Air Forces. Like, it was a fascinating time, and like just being with that group, like he was like. In fact, from what I found, like I read this article about during that same time on Memorial Day, as I mentioned earlier. I found out in this article that the plane was nicknamed the Saints in honor of my grandpa, since he was the acting commander of that plane.
Oh.
Yeah. And they flew 25 missions.
Wow.
25 missions.
25 missions. Well, you're young, but did you ever have a chance to watch 12 O'Clock High? It was an hourly show. You older people might remember it was called 12 O'Clock High. And the B-29s went in and they had strategic places to bomb and stuff. Over 50% didn't come back. So every time you left on a mission, you had about a 50-50 chance of coming back. Can you imagine that? You're taking off and you just don't know if you're going to come back or not. There's that many casualties because the Germans, of course, were coming with fire and fighters, and we had fighters to try to help us, but you know, I just can't hardly imagine that.
Yeah, I mean, I'll probably like maybe near the end of the video, like you probably might show like the remainder of the photos I want to send, because we gotta like continue to talk about like some more important information about my grandpa. And so like this is a photo of like probably one of the islands he was at, and this is like the island's conditions. Like they had to like make these runways on these islands, and they probably have to deal with a lot of like dense jungles and sand and trying to flatten it so it's easier for the planes to land and get off, and they probably have to bring the whole thing in the ship.
You had to have a fairly long runway for a B-29.
Yeah.
So they had a lot of work to do.
Yeah, and so here's like another photo of the plane in the air, and then here's a very cool one of like a squadron of them in the air, like here, like it's pretty amazing. And then so now we're gonna talk about some very important like battles like he fought in, like in this one here, like this number on the top here is like in the book, like we'll probably put like a link of like the book we got this information from. Like this is probably like one of his missions like over Tokyo, like he was bombing it, and like in the situation, like what happened was like my dad became like great grandpa like became like the acting commander for like the whole squadron when like one of the planes like had to abort because of some problems with like maybe the pilot got killed or maybe some malfunctions. If you can look closely, like you can just see here in the list like how badly like one of the planes was dealing with. And from this information, like from the article I read, like the tail gunner I mentioned earlier, like the article was about him and that's how I learned about the nickname of the plane. And what happened was, and like on March 9th, like they were bombing the city, and firebombing those Tokyo was a very bad time for the Japanese. Like it's terrible. And like what happened was, like I guess like my grandpa had to like get the plane down to get out of range of the anti-aircraft guns. They had to do a dive, and it's a very difficult thing to do, especially on those kinds of planes. And from what the information my family found was that they had to get around 28,000 to 4,000 foot dive to get out of the range of the anti-aircraft guns. And from the amount of G's they have to take about that plane could take about 2.5 G's without serious damage. But in this, they had to take about 5 to 6 G's just to get away. And the Lord was with them in that moment because they were able to, like, the plane was able to hold itself together. But
oh my God,
could you imagine doing a dive bomb in that plane? And like for tail gunners, like the way I found out that article was legit was because my family told me that like the tail gunner, like when my grandpa talked about the tail gunner had a mental breakdown because those guys have to see the full scale carnage, and also like tail gunners it's not an easy job. Like you get shot at, and like sometimes like who knows what could happen. And
all the fighters want to knock him out because he's got the guns to shoot, shoot
and
the fighters and stuff.
And then like I found out in an article on one of the comment sites that that guy's lying because like I found out he had a mental breakdown. In fact, he actually broke his arm like during the whole fiasco because of the dive.
Oh, gee.
Yeah. So it's crazy when you go through these battles, and like there's just so many battles. Like you just look at this and like you look at them and like you see them smiling. It's like, well, what can you do? But then we get into like some more interesting content here. Like you see in this one, like you see on number 75 at the bottom here, it's the power display. And like what that means is that they flew the power or show of force formation over the USS Missouri during the Japanese surrender ceremony. And then like you see here, this is a list of them. And then this is a photo of the show of force like formation. Like see here, that's the ship. And like this, you see this, and like this was during the ceremony, and it's like from the information that I found that like this for him to be a part of that, because like he was like with the main group, like the squadrons that were responsible for like bombing Japan, and they were a part of that formation. And so like it was just like very fascinating, like the amount of like B-29s that's like flew over like the USS Missouri during the ceremony, like when Japan finally surrendered.
Yeah. How many B-29s were there, do you know? Like 800 or?
Probably like maybe in the 400s, probably from like the info, like roughly around like that were like with the 20th Air Force, like 462 to 525 B-29s.
Okay.
Like that's the amount, and
wow.
it's just crazy. Like when you look at this,
the C-130 became a big workhorse for the military when I was in. They had 850 of them.
Wow.
We did 850 C-130s, and they were flying all over. They could land in short distances and take off. So it hadn't been made yet. The first C-130 was I think 1955 or something. But I was surprised that we had that many, you know.
Yeah.
But it takes a lot to get everything down, and it wasn't a bomber though. It was a
So now, like before we like conclude, like I want to show you like the medals he got. Like,
well, let's take a little break here, and then we'll come back and we'll do one more segment. Is that can you finish up in 10-15 minutes? Okay, we're going to come back. We're going to finish this. I know you're interested in this. I can just tell that you guys are saying, "Wow," you know. Yeah, and we need to have a grateful heart for our people that went to war for us. We'll be right back.
And as floodwaters continue to rise, thousands are left destitute.
We already see major fire spread. Hundreds of homes have been destroyed by the wildfires, which continue to blaze.
The storm barreled ashore overnight, packing 130-mile-per-hour winds.
Utter devastation. Now search and rescue efforts.
Across the country, disasters have left many in need of emergency shelter.
You can help those impacted by disasters big and small. Give now.
Welcome back.
hello.
We're going to tie this off a little bit. I'd like to go all day, but we got an hour show, so we're doing okay. We've got about 10-15 minutes yet.
Yeah. Well, here I just want to talk about the medals my grandpa got during the war, and so like here is like the display in my dad's office of my grandpa. Like you look closely, like this is the American flag. Like you see all the photos and like in fact, like I think my dad like got like a container full of like some like drinking glasses that with the 20th Squadron here, and like here here is like the medals he got.
Wow.
And so from what I found when I showed like a picture to like my family and they looked up like things in like ChatGPT or things like that, we found things like if you look at the top row, you have the captain's rank insignia, like the silver bars. Like this is to show like he's a captain in the Air Force, like 03 rank insignia, and like captains are typically like company grade like officers with like they were in charge of he got this because of like his several years in service or like the amount of missions he flew. And then you look in the center, like the command pilot wings, like the wings with a star above, like this is the highest astronomical rating in the U.S. Air Force.
Wow.
And I found that the reason he got this because like one, he got over 3,000 hours of flight hours because of his missions, and then demonstrated leadership and operational excellence. And it shows that he had a long and distinguished flying career. And I think after he finished, like he was with the Air Force, like during the Berlin airlift, like in the late 40s to 50s, I believe, last I checked. And so in the middle, you see like the ribbon rack. And so the ribbon bars, you see it on the photo here, like represents multiple awards and campaigns. And so like the blue and orange tones is the Air Medal, where he was awarded for gratuitous achievement or heroism while participating in aerial flight. In fact, like I think one moment where my grandpa actually had to get into the where they drop the bombs in the plane, like the
Bombardier or
like the chamber where the bombs were contained, like the doors wouldn't shut, so he had to go in there and shut it himself, and like the pressure in there was probably uneven, so because like they had to get the pressure even inside the plane so they can go up, but when those doors wouldn't close, they couldn't do that. So he had to go in there. From what my parents told me, in there just to like close them manually.
Oh yeah.
Like, can you imagine? Like, I mean, I'll get goosebumps just seeing the height.
Oh.
Ugh.
Yeah, if the hydraulics wasn't working, he had to go in there with some kind of a tool. And,
Yeah.
Oh my
Yeah,
goodness.
yeah.
Did he ever get hurt or injured or?
I don't know. Maybe. I don't know. I mean, I don't see a Purple Heart here or anything.
Yeah. Well, maybe he was fortunate enough not to get hurt too bad.
Yeah. And let's continue on. You see, like, on the ribbon, you see oak leaf clusters, and there's 5 of them. Well, that means those oak leaf clusters represent a total of 5 missions. As I mentioned earlier, he flew 25, so we got 5 oak leaf clusters.
Wow.
And I think like the ones on each of the ribbons, they probably like meant like very key moments, like I guess the blue might represent a key moment here or things like that. And then like the 5 stars might represent like, I don't know, very, very key moment, like his best missions maybe. I mean, you could probably look this up for yourself. But then we get into the most important aspect, the medals. And here we see like on the, I think what we see on the right, I think we see like the Air Medal, which is a military decoration of the United States Armed Forces created in 1942 by Executive Order 9158, signed by Franklin D. Roosevelt himself. And it's rewarded for a single acts of heroism or meritorious achievement while participating in aerial flight.
Wow.
And so the Air Medals, which the one that has the like red and blue in it, that's the Air Medal. And like he got this because like of like his 4 oak leaf clusters for every time he did those missions over Japan, and it's just like, it's so crazy. And those oak leaf clusters are connected to that medal because they're on the colored ribbon there. So that medal represents his like a total of 20 missions he flew to get that medal.
Did your relatives talk about the spirituality at all? Did most of the guys be believers or weren't sure?
I don't know. I don't think they told me much about that. But then like we get to a point in here, like remember I talked about the pressurized cabin issue with the doors? Well, the next medal you see on the left or right here, you see this medal with the propeller on it. Well, this one is actually very interesting. It's the Distinguished Flying Cross, and it was authorized by the Act of Congress on July 2nd, 1926.
Ooh.
Amended by Executive Order 7786 on January 8th, 1938. And this one like has to do with that one oak leaf cluster, like that's on the ribbon the same color. Like this one was because like that was the one where like that mission I mentioned where he had to go into the pressurized cabin. That's how he got that medal, because he risked his life just to get that thing closed so his men could get out.
Wow.
He risked his life, and like because like they couldn't go back to Tintin Island without closing the bomb by boards, and they had to pressurize the cabin as I mentioned, and he had to risk that. Like, it was crazy that he had to deal with something like that.
This is a Christian TV talk show, but Christ is in this all the way. His grandpa risked his life for his neighbor. If you give your life for someone else, that's the greatest showing of love, you know. Mm-hmm. If you sacrifice. All these people are doing this. I believe that a lot of them were probably kind of silent about their faith, but God was with them. Mm-hmm. And they did a wonderful job, and he orchestrated it, and we won the war. Mm-hmm. I believe that's because we had free choice, and there was a lot of things going on. But look at the sacrifices that were being made and everything. Jesus sacrificed for us. There's parallels here, So don't think, I know I have a lot of shows where we talk about Jesus a lot and everything, but this is in it too. We're just not going there because we don't know, you know. But I believe a lot of these guys, God can take us the split second before you die. He can turn that into eternity, and He can test you. He can, you know, you can choose Christ or not. I bet a lot of these guys did before they bit the bullet. You know, the thief on the cross didn't have any time. He just had a few minutes left, and he said, "Will you? I believe you, Jesus. Will you see me in paradise? Yes, I'll see you in paradise." Jesus said, "Today you'll be with me in paradise." I believe a lot of these heroes from World War II will see him up there.
Yeah, yeah, and just like this, let's conclude about what my grandpa did like after the war. Like he came with the Air National Guard for a bit, and like he was probably he was teaching like young pilots how to fly in Victorville, California during the Korean War. Like he was in in fact he was in Park Ridge, Illinois during the Bay of Pigs invasion. In fact, he was working with Lincoln Mercury. I think it was a car salesman. Like he was probably in the National Guard like part-time, maybe. Like I don't know, maybe that.
Yeah, you can be in the Guard weekend warrior like.
Oh, really? Yeah. Oh, I didn't know that.
I was in the Guard, and once a month you'd go and train and everything, but they could activate you.
Oh.
So it's like the Guard or the Reserve, you know.
Really?
So he probably did a lot of that.
Huh. Okay. So yeah, that's what my parents told me. Like he was a car salesman, for Lincoln Mercury or maybe some other brands like later down in his life.
Yeah, and once a month he'd go to a.
Yeah. And he trained pilots during pilots, and like during the Berlin airlift, like from 1948 to 1949. Sorry, that's correction. Like he was like afraid. Like my grandpa, was afraid. Like if he was gonna activate because like the Cold War was going on.
Well, that's like I was with the Air National Guard and Air Force Reserves after I got out of the Air Force, but they activated our unit for Desert Storm.
Oh yeah.
I was back in the service all of a sudden.
Oh yeah.
You know, and that's kind of what he was doing. They could have activated him, but it sounds like they didn't. But he went to the meetings and stuff. You know?
Yeah, and I think like from what I found from the notes, like his biggest fear was going to be transferred to Greenland because like the Cuban Missile Crisis and the Bay of Pigs.
Oh.
Yeah. Well, that's all the information I have about my grandpa and my great grandpa, my family, and they fought through the worst kind of war, like the first worst theater during World War II. My first opinion, like the Pacific Theater. My grandpa flew in the air, and my great grandpa on my mom's side fought on the ground. They fought in two of the most difficult places to be, like on the air and on the ground. There probably might be another relative who fought in the sea in like the battleships, but just those two areas alone is very difficult.
You know, folks, this is a patriotic show today, and I hope you have a sense of being appreciative. Veterans Day here in Branson, veterans come in from all over, and they meet with their old squadrons and stuff, and Branson does a good job of treating the veterans real well and free shows and everything. But we can show our appreciation yet today for anybody that's in the service or has been or families. That's patriotism, okay? That's patriotism, and we certainly ought to have it here in America.
Amen.
And Jesus Christ is behind all of it. When you boil it right down, the Lord had to be in control. God is sovereign. He's in control. He orchestrated this war, and He let us, because we had free choice, and a lot of people made the right choices to win it. Mm-hmm. And so I'm going to end with that. I won't pray today, but if you are sensing something, all you have to do is say, I believe, Jesus, you died for me. Mm-hmm. You died on the cross. Take away all my sins. Mm-hmm. Now I can have eternity in heaven. All you got to do is tell them that and say, come into my heart. Mm-hmm. That's it. There's no magic words. You don't have to say the exact sinner's prayer or whatever. It's all about the heart. And if it talks in John 3:3 about being born again. Mm-hmm. That used to scare me a little bit. It doesn't scare me. He was telling a Nicodemus who knew all about the law and everything, and he didn't understand Jesus. Jesus said, I'm telling you got to be born again to enter the kingdom of heaven. That was born spiritually. Mm-hmm. Believing. The believe is the key. Believe in your heart. If you let him know that, you want him in your heart, he'll come in right now or anytime.
Amen.
In fact, I am going to say a prayer now that I said that. We'll end with this prayer. Lord, some of you may know him real well out there, and that's wonderful. Others are wondering, just keep seeking. Jesus said, ask and you'll be given, seek and you will find, knock and the door will be open. Seek the truth. Jesus is the truth. Seek the truth and get into the Word and get with other believers and talk to them. And just say, Jesus, I don't know everything, but I know you're real, and the gospel is the good news. You come and died on the cross for my sins, for the whole world's. Come into my life. You'll get saved today. We'll see you in heaven. We'll see you next week.
Bye. Thanks so much.
Yeah.